Good evening, everyone. This evening's recording is just going to be really brief, um, just touching on a few more pragmatism and existentialism key elements, specifically as they relate to South African education. But before I get to that, I just want to quickly talk to you about ICE Task 2. So ICE Task 1 is now, the deadline is still tonight, 17th of March. Hopefully you have all managed to get that done by now. I know there were 4 or 5 of you that hadn't attempted any of the ICE parts of the ICE Task 1, and I emailed you. I hope you received that email and that you managed to submit your ICE Task 1. Then just very briefly, ICE Task 2 has now been uploaded under more resources, and you go to ICE Activities, you click on the ICE Activities heading, and you'll see there's a heading ICE Task 2. I have explained it a whole lot in more detail than what it is on the slide, but just to quickly explain it to you again, so part A of ICE Task 2 will be your answers to the 2 questions that are posed on week 4's to-do list. The one was, how does technology impact the use of pragmatic approach within your field of education? That was the first question. And the second question was, what are the challenges and the implications of applying key elements of existentialism within your teaching practice? So that was the 2 questions that forms part of part A. Part B, I have, and you will see in the ICE Task, on the ICE Task page, you will see I've listed 6 different movies. Some of them, well, I suppose they're all pretty old. It would depend on how old you are as to whether you recognize the movies or not. But if it is possible for you to select one of those movies and watch it, and then to identify the key elements of the teacher's either pragmatic or existentialist philosophy, identify 2 of the key elements, and then explain to me in a paragraph why they are an existentialist teacher or a pragmatist, and then what it is about what they've done that makes you think that. So that would be part B. If you're unable to watch a movie, either snippets of it or Netflix, wherever you watch your movies, then the alternative to that would be that you could choose either pragmatism or existentialism, and then describe 4 key elements of that philosophy to me and give me practical examples as to how you would apply that in your own field of education. Okay, so I hope that explains ICE Task 2. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email me, or you can keep your questions to next week, Monday, when we have a live session. But yeah, I hope that explains it a little. Yeah, I hope that I have explained it well. And then to submit ICE Task 2, I know that I did say the part A, type it up in Word, but I've now created a link under blogs called ICE Task 2. So if you can just use that link, if you click on ICE Task 2, at the top it says create a new blog entry. You select that, and then you can just copy and paste whatever you typed up in Word for the first part, and then for the second part you can just type it in underneath that. So I hope that makes more sense. I hope that makes sense. So you will find blogs on the left hand side when you in VC Learn in your course. And the ICE Task, as I said, you will find under more resources, ICE Activities, and then ICE Task 2. Okay, all right, then let's move on with what we're going to look at in this recording. So this recording, together with the video on pragmatism and existentialism that's on the YouTube channel, the link is also under week 4's to-do list, as well as the articles that you had to read, all of that together should definitely give you enough information and resources to be able to complete your second ICE task. Okay, so then let's get into tonight's recording. As I said, I'm going to discuss the key elements of both pragmatism and existentialism with specific reference or relevance to higher education in South Africa. So if we take a look at pragmatism, by now you would understand that it really emphasizes the practical consequences and real world outcomes of our beliefs and theories and actions. It kind of emerged in, I would say, the late 19th century in the United States. Key figures would be William James and John Dewey. We all know John Dewey. They contributed significantly to the development of the pragmatic philosophical tradition. It definitely, in comparison or in relation to all other fields, it's definitely had a lasting impact in education. So I'm going to unpack 6 of its key elements very briefly and how we can relate that to higher education in South Africa. So the first one is that pragmatism emphasizes the instrumental value of knowledge. So in teaching, this would mean that you would be focusing on how knowledge and skills can be applied in real world scenarios, real world contexts. And specifically then in South Africa, where often we have a unique socioeconomic, we have socioeconomic challenges that are pretty unique. Our teaching within a pragmatic philosophical arena would be geared towards equipping our students with practical skills and knowledge that would empower them to address the real issues that we have. And secondly, pragmatism values learning through experience. So again, higher education institutions in South Africa can adopt more of an experiential learning approach, such as internships and fieldwork, practical projects really that allow our students to apply the theoretical concepts in real life situations. So this hands-on approach would most definitely enhance our students' understanding of skills that they are developing. In actual fact, I think this ties in really well with Generation Z anyway. They tend to want more hands-on experience, want real-life application of the theories that they are learning. And then thirdly, pragmatism encourages orientation of problem solving. Educators then in South Africa would look at designing curricula that would present students with authentic problems and then encourage them to problem solve critically through collaboration in finding creative solutions. So this approach would most definitely foster a deeper engagement with the course material and prepare the students for sort of more complex challenges that they have in their futures, which we all know is definitely relevant in South Africa. And then thirdly, pragmatism values flexibility and adaptability. Again, another definite skill that we need to develop amongst our students in South Africa with our diverse student population and our evolving societal needs. I think we as lecturers should be open to incorporating new teaching methods, technologies and perspectives into our pedagogies. I think we really need to start moving away from the lecturer being the one in the front of all the information and start adapting to 21st century education, really, 21st century students. The fifth key element of pragmatism is democratic principles. They emphasize inclusivity. Again, brilliant element for South Africa. Promotes inclusivity, involves acknowledging and respecting diverse perspectives, backgrounds and experiences. So educators here can create inclusive spaces for dialogue and for debate, collaboration, all of this fostering a sense of belonging and mutual respect. I was actually having a discussion with my third year students the other day, and we were talking about um, how sad it is that in South Africa, within the safe space of a lecture room or a classroom, we are still not able to have difficult conversations around key problems and key issues. And I think we really need to start looking towards um, being vulnerable in those dialogues and creating that safe space for our students to be vulnerable and to have these difficult conversations, because if we're not having them in our lecture rooms, we're not having them in our school classrooms, we just, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to move forward. So I think there's still too many landmine areas that nobody wants to put their feet in, but I do think we need to start respectfully having that kind of a dialogue. Um, and then lastly, pragmatism encourages continuous reflection. And again, this is a great skill to learn, and not just reflection of what you have done, but get feedback from your students, get feedback from the people who you are guiding and facilitating learning of, because at the end of the day, that is where the tacky is going to hit the top. So yeah, do that and assess your effectiveness of your methods, and if necessary, make those adjustments. Be be that person who's willing to admit, they can grow, they can develop, they can improve, and that in the end will create a better lecturing for your students and ultimately for you. So, although pragmatism is an older, I wouldn't say it's one of the classical philosophies, but it's definitely an older philosophy. But I do think there's still um, a lot of good that we can still get out of this if we use this as one of our eclectic philosophies that we decide to kind of hold on to. So then, in summary, pragmatism, I think, then specifically in the South African context, offers valuable principles that can enhance our teaching, especially in our diverse and dynamic contexts. Great. Then I'm now going to move on to existentialism. Um, Again, you would have read or heard or listened to that it is that philosophical approach that focuses on individual experience, it focuses on freedom, focuses on choice, and most importantly, it focuses on the search of meaning. And the two of the key existentialist thinkers, Jean-Paul Sartre and Martin Heidegger, they contributed greatly to this philosophical tradition. And so, again, I'm going to look at 6 key elements of existentialism and how we can apply those elements within a South African context within our lecturing rooms. First of all, as I said, existentialism places a strong emphasis on individuality as well as personal responsibility. So it's not just about your experience and your freedom and your choice, but it's also about taking responsibility. So in teaching, this would mean that you would recognize and respect each student's unique experiences and their perspectives. And so in South Africa, you would create a South African, in the South African context, in your lecture room, you would create a learning environment that would encourage your students to explore their own beliefs and their own values, just becoming a little bit more self-aware. So the whole focus on individuality. Then the focus on freedom and choice. Existentialism highlights the importance of freedom and choice in shaping our existence. And so in higher education, this would be reflected in giving students agency over their learning journey. So educators can offer choices in assignments. I know that sounds scary, um, but yeah, I mean, I know that's difficult. It's not just scary, it's difficult because you, as the educator or lecturer, would have to put in a lot of planning, a lot of prep work if you wanted to give your students a choice. So you would have to come up with different assignments and then obviously different rubrics for marking those assignments, but in true existentialism, you would do that. You would allow your students to pursue their areas of interest that resonate with their own existential questions. So yeah, that I know is not always possible, but wouldn't that be amazing? Thirdly, existentialists, they value authenticity, genuine engagement with life's challenges. Whenever I think of this, I always think of the movie Forrest Gump. I don't know those of you who've seen it. Again, I don't know what generation you guys are, but I'm sure you've all heard of, if not heard of, seen, definitely heard of Forrest Gump. But he was just so authentic, and he just took on life's challenges as they were. He navigated um, his experiences and choices, and that basically ultimately shaped his identity and his purpose for life. So I just love that movie. But anyway, so existentialists, they promote authenticity. And so it's not about parrot learning, rote memorization, or passive consumption of information. It's about educators designing learning activities that encourage your students to critically think about things and to reflect on things and to find the meaning in dialogue, um, and just help them to grapple with existential questions related to their purpose and to their identity. I know it can get a bit, I suppose, a bit egotistical, but yeah, there would be a fine balance. And then, fourthly, existentialism encourages individuals to confront questions of meaning. So, again, in the context of higher education in South Africa, educators could facilitate discussions and activities that encourage students to explore diverse cultures and historical perspectives, diverse philosophical perspectives, how different cultures make meaning, what is important to different cultures, what um, unpacking their belief system. So yeah, you could look at themes such as social justice and ethical responsibilities, um, that that would all fall under more of an existentialist kind of like approach. Existentialists then also emphasize the importance of taking responsibility. So it's not just about the freedom of choice and about making meaning or finding your purpose, but it's also about taking the responsibility of whatever it is that you're going to do. So in teaching this principle, you you could encourage your students to take ownership of their own learning process, encourage and assist them on setting meaningful goals and working towards a positive contribution, not just for themselves, but for their communities and the greater society. So this would then involve service learning projects, community engagement projects, etc. So that would be encouraging their responsibility and action. And then lastly, existentialism acknowledges the inherent uncertainty and ambiguity of human existence. I mean, yeah, we all know that the only constant is change. And so, as an educator or lecturer, you can create learning environments that actually embrace complexity and encourage a student to then tolerate this ambiguity, to tolerate the complexity and the conflict, and then to navigate these various perspectives. And by doing that, they would then develop a resilience in the face of uncertainty. And wouldn't that be an amazing skill for our students to have in South Africa? So you prepare them for the challenges of a rapidly changing world, and you would encourage them as well to adapt creatively to diverse situations. So by integrating existentialist principles into your teaching, you could promote, or you would promote, holistic development. You would promote critical consciousness, deeper engagement with existential questions that resonate with your students' lived experiences and the context within which they find themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is pragmatism and existentialism, in a different nutshell compared to the recording on YouTube. So if you've listened to that and this one and you've done some of the reading, you should really be okay, I think, with pragmatism and existentialism. So from next week then, we're going to be moving on to the 20th century philosophies. We're going to start with the analytic philosophy that was born in the UK, United Kingdom. We're then going to move on to continental philosophies that were born and originated in Europe. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at African philosophy that obviously originated here on our continent. So that would take us over the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to then have a look at 20th century philosophies. And by then, you should start getting quite a good idea of where you sit with regards to philosophies. Very seldom that we kind of like teach within one philosophy only. Our philosophy of teaching is normally eclectic and it's made up of little bits and pieces. But I'm sure by now, and definitely after the 20th century philosophies, you will have an idea of where you're at, where your passion is, and what you kind of have already unconsciously built into your teaching practice. So this is all for me for this week. Just a reminder, if you do listen to this recording before Tuesday evening 7 o'clock, to listen to to join the library session. It is specifically geared for your course, so I would strongly recommend that you do attend that if you can. I will again post the recording in the, on VC Learn for those of you who can't attend. Okay, and other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Please won't you message me or email me if there's anything you're struggling with. Yeah, it's not nice to feel out there on your own. I am here for you, and I really my aim and desire would be that you all pass well. And so please do reach out to me if you need any help. Great, then have a great week further, and I will chat again to you, again with you on the 25th, Monday night the 25th at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much.